Hello, good people from the internet. You're A-lètheia, the Speak Up Club live. As you know, that we have the modality of the Q&A active right on. We do this every other week. The idea in this case is addressing the little audience that we have that, well, nonetheless special for all the time that you have followed us, new people and old people. We are really, really grateful. And obviously, trying to see if there are people that are out there interested in getting to know what is it that we do, the type of activities that we have online as we're feeding this type of life to, you know, uh, the time that you spend doing things normally impregnates that environment of your essence of life. So this is this time that I'm dedicating. We are dedicating to do this. It's giving life to the persona that we little by little are feeling online, and that's the type of persona that all of you are capable of having access to, for which we're grateful. Now, speaking about the Q&A, there was a question that I couldn't really manage to completely answer the other day. And while we're waiting for the first people to make their appearance and give us the first questions, we are going to use that this time to do that, to address that question before in the past. A student of mine asked me once about my position regarding animal rights and understanding what's happening right now. And let's say that I've had my own deal of grievances and little triumphs along my life regarding the idea of animal rights. I remember when I the first time that I ever considered having a pet. I was, I remember, I'm not sure if it was 7 or 8 years old. At the time, we were living in the outskirts of Maracaibo in Venezuela and in a rural area. And for some reason, I got access to a puppy of a newly born puppy, and they were giving away all the siblings across the different lands that were nearby. Apparently, this dog was deer for some reason. Anyway, and I got to get the female dog, and I was so happy. And I called her Lilia. I'm not sure, and I didn't know afterwards that then I had a cousin whose name it was a little bit similar. So I probably must have heard it somewhere and considered it a good name for family. So I got this little puppy that I thought I was taking care of. And suddenly I realized that my mom had already negotiated giving away with some other family. So I only had her for about a month. And then, of course, they got rid of her. Well, they gave her away. But I felt like it was more than they got rid of her because apparently my mom was not really fond of having dogs around the house, though we had a lot of space because we were living in a rural area. I really never quite got that. There were all the different type of animals around, but we couldn't keep a dog. Was it because of me? Maybe because I was just too little to really look after the dog. Who knows? Maybe that was the case, but either way, it was a situation that um, made me have my first experience at not, a little frustration of not being capable of taking care of an animal and not really knowing what will happen of it afterwards because I had no idea. Later on, I found out that she was actually living in another farm around the area. But I really didn't see her again, so I could not really tell. I remember that at the same farm, I saw how they raised chicken, different type of farms, and I saw how they took parts of it, most of the population of chicken was actually traded to companies. One company in particular, I'm not gonna say the name of it, for obvious reasons. And the chicken that was not used was basically consumed locally in the different shops around the area. Plus, of course, the main customer locally will be the employees from the farm. That's the chicken we got access to. Now, one of the things I saw that was really horrible was how they dispose of chicken that were somehow defectious. What they consider defectious is, this type of chicken that was raised to be grown in farms had a lot of hormones in their food. And consuming these hormones made them sometimes mutate weirdly. I saw chicken with six legs, chicken with four legs, chicken with weird necks, bad crooked formations for eyes, any different crazy mutations that you wouldn't believe. This chicken got the hacks. They never really got to grow that much, but still, you got to see all those things that happen. And we could understand that, wow, that business is not that clean, or at least not as clean as we think. A little older, I always begrudge our necessity to consume meat, you know, for living. However, I couldn't deny my love for the taste. I mean, barbecue, there's nothing that can beat the flavor of barbecue meat. Um, Fish of any type. I really wasn't shy about trying any type of meat when eating. But the fact that I knew that animals had to be sacrificed for me to get to enjoy such dishes was always something that had that weighed on my head. Not, let's say, in my teenage years, not so heavily, but when I entered university, I started to consider the idea of vegetarianism, and I actually did manage to live for a time as a vegetarian. Not completely a vegan though, but yes, as a vegetarian. When I turned 28 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and I did that for at the beginning because I needed to prove myself that I was capable of actually sustain my life without consuming any animal any animal proceeding type of protein. If I could do that, then obviously that will raise all my levels of survival wherever I lived. So I had that practical motivation at the very beginning, and at the same time, there was this huge motivation, let's say ideological motivation from the very beginning, that it was me not wanting to uh, be the responsible for the death of so many animals. Really, just basically that, right? Like I thought that in a way, if I didn't eat meat myself, I would be at least one person that does not participate of the whole butchery, human butchery or animal, sorry, yeah, but butchery for just human pleasure. And then so much meat that tends to be lost sometimes, because it's true. I mean, you just have to pass by garbage bins of every restaurant. There's a lot of meat that's wasted. That wouldn't happen as much as if another person was consuming. That was more or less the motivation I had. That really didn't last really long when I started thinking about precisely that thing that I mentioned, how uh, silly and um, short-sighted was of my side that just not wanting to eat meat will make meat be lessly pursued somehow. Like if me as an individual will affect a market that it doesn't really consider the individual as its source of let's say decision making when it came to that. There is no feedback, really direct feedback from meat producers to meat consumers. In reality, no one asks us how is it that we feel about the meat that we consume. Maybe let's say that there are certain communities in the world that are privileged enough to actually make sure to have some sort of level of contact with, let's say, distributors. I don't know, let's say communities that will have those type of supermarkets in which the consumers will say, please, next time, make sure that the meat is killed in this form and not in this other form. I'm not exaggerating when I say that actually in certain supermarkets that happens. You got the kosher products, and what I mean by kosher products is because they have this sign for kosher production, and we all know that that means that it's been, let's say, religiously blessed to be consumed, and for that reason, we assume people that consume this type of meat, I am one of them, consume this type of meat, we assume that it was the animal that was used to produce this type of meat was killed using a particular type of methodology. And we consider that this way it's more humane than simply just butcher the animal. At the very end, an animal is being killed for you to have some barbecue. There is no way to look around this. But what if you simply just stop eating meat? Is that the way that you really would dodge that type of responsibility of having to consume animal animal source resource products or of any kind? What about the type of shoes that you wear, the type of clothes that you wear, the type of medicines that you have access to? All of it is tainted with life, not to say directly the blood, although it might be in some cases, but with the life of animals. Animals that apparently their lives aren't as worthy as our lives, at least not enough for them to keep their own while we keep our own. No, we need to keep our own by taking off theirs. We are constantly being absorbing life force of animals throughout our lifetimes. I mean, if you think and believe in karma, you need to consider that. And some people, I mean, those that consider themselves being totally vegetarian will have to really know that if they want to be completely out of any level of responsibility, direct responsibility towards the life of animals, they will have to renounce to quite a lot of different things, including medicine. And how can you control whatever other different type of ingredient of the whole material that is used to produce all the different things that we use in terms of, all the way from our clothing, food, technology, etc., etc., etc. We have always depended on animals. We have always depended on nature. Somehow we differentiate the way we see. nature from its mineral perspective to its let's say vegetable perspective to its animal perspective, and we give it different levels of importance. I guess that for a person that really perceives life for what it is, eating lettuce, eating a mango is pretty much the same thing as eating a bunny or eating chicken. They are both alive in different forms. One is a vegetable or fruit, and the other one is an animal, fish, bird, animal. Why is it that we have to sometimes complicate things that much in terms of how we value life, how we value things? Well, because it's necessary. Because you cannot really wait how you produce lettuce, how you produce mango, as you produce chicken, and as you produce a bunny. I mean, a rabbit. Yes, they are different. Life and life forms have different ways of being perceived and being appreciated and being consumed. And for all those reasons, there is not really comparable. Besides, there is this factor that it's seldom discussed in this type of discussions. Sorry to be redundant in that case. And it's the fact that there is the cultural context in which everything happens. There are ways of living, culturally speaking, that they completely develop all around a way of addressing some type of tradition that normally this type of tradition is or consists of a type of animal dependency. And I mean by this, let's say the fishing culture, right? Fisher town, a town that lives totally, completely dependent on consuming fish, which is getting a type of life form that thrives on the coast of this place and as it is. So you got people that uh, directly buy the fish, directly fish the fish, directly prepares the fish, directly trades with the fish. There are some people that actually work with tools that are related to fishing, tools that are related to navigating, tools that are related to other different type of technologies that are required for this, for establishments of how to keep fish, how to transport fish, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you cannot really deny that fish, if there was no fish at all, then these people will have no livelihood whatsoever. So that's what it is. That's the situation we're dealing here now. That we are in a society in which we depend totally, completely on nature because that's the context of our livelihood. And in some of it is basically the animals that we consume. Others, the wood we consume, the air that we consume, the water that we consume. Sometimes there's a lot of noise online regarding the two sides of one crazy fight, which is the opinion of, let's support science, and the other ones, let's support Mother Earth, or let's support the pro evolution, sorry, pro evolution, no, pro human climate change, or Mr. Yeah, Amen. Hello, Mr. Ayman. Let's support climate change, or let's support no, simply global warming, and then the level of responsibility that we have over it, etc., etc. And that's something that we need to consider too. Ayman, as this is the Q&A, any question, shoot. Remember, that's how we were today. I was just answering one question that we didn't respond, and it was a difficult one. So again, continuing, trying to already to be closing on that one. Uh, when we speak about the life, our life, the life that we share in this planet, we also need to consider all the life force that we're taking with ourselves in this planet, all the living beings involved in your daily life. Every animal that possibly will die in one of your days in this planet. And stop blaming yourself for anything. You cannot really live your life complaining about how cruel you are, how terrible you are, because animals are dying because you are alive. And at the same time, you cannot be completely responsible with the life of such animal. You need to live responsibly, dealing and understanding why it is necessary for such animal to suffer what they need to suffer, and at the same time how you can actually be better for the life that you're living in this world, so you can, let's say, try to compensate a little bit in a way. Hello, Mr. Ponce. Hello, how's it going? This is the Q&A. We are receiving questions. Whomever wants to make a question, shoot. That will be the interesting thing for us, trying to answer any type of question. And what we mean, any type of question is any type of question. It's a democratic area for us to work. We got Pedro through YouTube. Hello, Mr. Pedro. Let's see. What's the thing you dislike the most about One Piece? Okay, we begin with a like question. Oh my god. What's the thing that I dislike the most about One Piece? Well, I guess the temporality in which the story has taken place. I mean, I've been watching and reading One Piece since 2009. Yeah, 2009. And at that time, One Piece had already been on for a while. Obviously, doing during that time and reading for all the time that I had to, I needed to go through filler arts. I needed to go through um, uh, spaces of time for withholding of the publications of for some reason, etc., etc., etc. The waiting, the expectations have always been cool. Finding out with my aging, my own process of aging, how this story has grown to be this huge, this incredible. But at the same time, the fact that I had to go through all that and grow with it, and not just sitting down and watch it all happen in, as long as it could take the quantity of hours I needed to invest for it. It has been years of my life. Pedro, that's, I think the temporality will be the only thing that I really, really dislike about One Piece, because it's taking so long. I really, really want to have the chance of watching the end of it in my lifetime, and apparently it's getting close to it. But I'm really afraid that with the way the world is going, anything can happen, and possibly we'll have the situation of what happened with Berserk, that the author of Berserk didn't make it, and the story ended up in a situation that, oh my god, now the editorial company decided to continue the story, and it just made a turn that I'm not sure if it is the best. It's, well, I'm changing the story of One Piece to Berserk. You should check Berserk whenever you have a chance. But yeah, I guess that's an issue to consider, Pedro. in terms of the temporality. The temporality of whatever you watch lately becomes a problem because obviously it affects the way in which you interact with that thing that you're appreciating, the type of media that you're consuming. Right now, in this generation, people are heavily invested on TV production, though we don't watch TV anymore. What I mean, watch TV is like it's not like in the past that TV was on and you basically depended your entertainment and TV depended on the schedule that was already set by the TV programming in the channel, whichever channel you watch. If it was the original national channels back in the 80s and some of the 90s, it was a fixed type of programming throughout the day at night. And if it was cable, later on the 2000s 2010s, so basically it was more specific according to seasonal television programming. Today you don't care really about what's on TV because whatever you want to watch whenever you want to watch, there are means for you to watch it at the time you want to. So of course that puts heavy heavy pressure and demand of whatever you want to. Diego, hello, sir. Remember, this is the Q&A. Whenever you have a question, ask. So, okay, what I was saying, the demand that it had on you was obviously more on uh, content production, and for that reason is where you have so much to watch. You have so much to watch on shows themselves, and then the commentary that any show produces. If we analyze the fact of One Piece, for instance, uh, there is so much for you to watch about One Piece. I mean, you just have the manga as a main source, but then you got the anime if you want to see some of the source being played like almost live because what the movement does in the anime. And in the last years, the production of the anime has been just boosted to the 1000%. And obviously, you get to enjoy that too. But then you have the whole content produced in the commentary. You can read it, you can watch it in YouTube. You have now TikTok and other different type of media that I don't even know. I'm all people. I just get to YouTube and Instagram. I don't know all the others. I really don't have the time to dig on TikTok. Really don't have the time, and I don't think I will have the patience. And that's the reason why, because there's so much, so difficult for you to get into a new thing if that thing is that long. So many people ask me for recommendations. What's your best story to read? And I always say One Piece, of course. And they always tell me, come on, that's too long. And I would say, but at least you will not waste your time. It was gonna be the best experience that you could have when reading a story from the get-go, from the beginning. And well, guys, the cool thing is that if you have the chance of binging it in any way of the media that you consume, it's awesome. Me, I'm updated to the last thing, and I have to wait week after week, week after week, with hiatus and other different things. My wife is the one that suffers the most, but that's a different story. All right, people, let's see. Anyone questions? Questions? Come on. There's people here online. Tell me. Any question is gonna be awesome for us because the idea here is that we don't just enclose the conversation towards just simply one topic. Remember that the idea of this space is we are giving us a chance of interacting with our audience and offering a service of having the chance, making the opportunity of you thinking with us. That's why basically your questions are important because any question that you have, We try to process it and give you the best answer possible. And as we said before, two heads think better than one. So let's see. Ayman. All right, I have a question by Mr. Ayman. Let me see. Let me see if I can read it better. Mister, how do you think someone can acquire problem solving skills? Ah, my friend. You're asking a good question, my friend. Problem solving skills. You're speaking about the way in which you build yourself, and that's basically what you are meaning by having those type of skills. Problem solving skills is building yourself up, being ready for whatever is coming to you. When I was a kid, and speaking about TV, there was this TV show called MacGyver, and this guy was incredible. It was a guy that was never really, I think, explained on the show that he was some sort of police officer or sort of secret agent or sort of any type of work. We don't really know because that was not very clear. But this guy was always involved in something in which his life was in danger. And for that, for any reason, he had to survive with whatever was around him. So it was like Survivor, but as a TV show. And in the TV show, he basically pulled out things that were really crazy by using the laws of chemistry, physics, and mathematics. So he put really quick and quirky ways to use instruments that we don't know, to make bombs, to make pumps, to make engines, to make any type of device that would allow him to survive in a given situation. And obviously, me and my friends who never watched the show were always looking like, no, MacGyver, really? So it was like a meme that whenever you pull out something that was very unexpected with the really insightful tools and uncanny conditions, you would say, well, that was a MacGyver. So, yeah, this idea of a person that is capable of resolving anything, it just makes you consider that being extra resourceful is that person has that skill, the problem solving or problem shooting skills. And I guess my growing up it gives you that in a way. I mean, the more experience you have with everything, the more problems you deal, and of course the more skills you develop, because as you have to face those skills, you need to get the strategies. Now, of course, not every person is prepared to develop skills. What is to develop a skill in itself? See it like this. The other day I gave you guys the example of an android, and I explained that we humans are really like androids, thinking really careful about what an Android is. An Android is basically a device that works with a very flexible operative system. It uploads and downloads applications. These applications are used and mastered, or simply not used and left on the most, let's say, primal stage. Because if you never use it, you never really master it. Those people that are experts are people that have a set of apps skills that work together in a, let's say, in the perfect unison in order to produce synergy that make them be really productive on one side. Some are multiple accessible in things that are, let's say, related to, I don't know, let's say making money. Like, there are people that are really skilled at doing that. They venture themselves into whatever thing that they can, but always with the objective of producing money, and they manage to make it. But at the same time, while they do that, they are really careless in other aspects of life. And some of them actually complain about this, like, oh, I have lots of hours dedicated to me producing money. And on the other hand, my wife is leaving me because she says that I don't have time for her. That happens, right? Not only the wife, actually, children suffer if they get children. No wife, children, or any other human connection. Sometimes that happens. And I'm not saying it's a law that a person that is quietly productive when it comes to making money is necessarily terrible with their families. I'm not saying that. I'm using that as a simple example. There are many different ways in which you are really great at resolving a bunch of different things and not so great at other simple, apparently, things. Now, how do you do to be like an integral, overall, all rounder, well versed in every area possible that you can? Well, I said experience. Without experience, you cannot really know how to deal with problems. Not every person has the same way to approach a problem. Without experience, you will not really know how you will deal with problems. So, yeah, you can investigate from the experience of others when dealing with a problem, but at the same time, you're gonna have to leave the problem in itself. So, Iman, the best way is doing it. Little by little, my friend. Little by little, getting to know about stuff, even if it's stuff that is not so easy to get to know. And I know what probably is troubling you because obviously you say, okay, how do I get experience of stuff that is not easy to get experience to? I know, I know. Um, for now, one good thing to do is obviously read about it. Reading about it is better than not knowing anything at all. Then, after you read about it, after you investigate a little bit and see how you can actually get the safest way to see or to face the situation that you want to confront. Now you probably say, but it's trouble. How do I approach the trouble? Whoa, there are many different ways in which you approach the trouble. Like doctors, doctors don't get sick to understand diseases, but they get to see how diseases work by investigating how it happens in other people. So getting to know people is one of the best ways to get to know about lots of trouble that you can acquire, that you can face. Know people. That's a good one. Let's see. We have another person. Questions. Remember, we got Diego, we got Mr. Ponce, we got Mr. Ayman, we got Mr. Pedro. All right, guys, come on. Let's see. Another question will be cool. What other things that we can say? But that question was really really cool, Mr. Ayman, because you know right now you guys are gonna be facing trouble, lots of trouble of many different kinds, and at the same time, much of those in a way they're not really trouble that come to you out of nowhere. Sometimes they simply become trouble in the way in which you perceive them, because sometimes we just are not, let's say, practical. Sometimes we're not practical enough when understanding that a challenge is not necessarily trouble. A challenge is always an opportunity. There is the saying of crisis is basically crisis. Every type of crisis are an opportunity to growth, an opportunity to get stuff. And investors internationally will always agree on the same idea that whenever someone is saying that there is a crisis in a particular market, well, there are so many different opportunities to make money. Yes, the same thing. You can put the, uh, the same analogy into other different areas of life that have nothing to do with this with business. And the idea in this case is, as we want to become um, let's say, more able, more self-assured, um, in order to prepare for anything that we can deal with. We basically require to have access to information that will give us like at least like a forward vision of that thing that we would like to face, the trouble that we like to get. Not simple. It's not that necessarily you need to acquire every type of trouble possible to get to know how life is, because nah. But you see, that's why literature is so good, because just by reading a lot, in fact, you get access to different ways of perceiving life too, through the eyes of a writer that in many cases is just a simple person that took the time to investigate a little and then recreate with words feelings and visions of people in different aspects of possible existence, that go all the way from the literal to the imaginary universes of, you know, the authors. Anything is possible in literature. And I guess that's something that we will always be blessed in this life, that we got access to that too, apart from all the entertainment. You have that, people. You have all the entertainment able for you to spend your time without not really making an effort, but you have also literature that requires that much of an effort, really sitting down to read and focusing in looking actively for words that become meaningful in your lives, that give you these type of pleasures about how life can be, and at the same time make you suffer a little bit through the eyes of these characters. But that suffering, giving you the eyes of characters perspective, will allow you to acquire maybe a set of skills, at least to prepare your mind to acquire this set of skills. So going back to the question of Ayman, yeah, reading, having the time to think of a possible problem before the problem happens, that is an opportunity that reading gives you. That helps a lot. Okay, for knowing what is the situation that you want to deal. And it doesn't really matter what is the situation you want to deal, well, at least if you get to think a little bit simple in the situations that can happen about one thing, you can realize that nothing happens without the connection or interaction of many other different things. So by thinking about one particular thing, you can begin associating from different perspectives, diagonally. You can consider as one problem from the perspective of the time it takes, the space it takes, the socioeconomic repercussions or conditions that happen for this situation to happen, etc., etc., etc. So I hope that that answer wasn't that complicated. Sometimes I got in my head a wider and lighter map of the things that I'm saying, but I'm not sure 100% if I managed to stay to come across all the things that I wanted to say. So I do hope if you guys understood what I said, you leave any comment. That'll be fun to see basically what you guys got from that. Okay, guys, if there is no more questions, we will be closing to wrap up. And before that, just a little bit with the announcements. We will keep doing the Q&A, as you guys know, every other week. So not the next week, but the following one. I know that um, my cool friends of the third senior years have the upcoming evaluations that are related to let's say, just the pre-university processes, etc., etc. If you guys want to prepare a few of those questions that are questions are related to that, any of those processes, guys, remember, this is the space. This is the space that we're giving, A-létheia is giving to you guys to ask about. And we will try to do our best to give you lights situations. There will be the academic issues that you will have to face. There will be even the social situations that you might actually have to face. For those of you that are planning traveling to a different country, and to study and to try life, see different aspects, etc., etc. Well, there will be a different series of things that you would like to think about, you know ask about. And as Ayman just asked before, you will have to build up a series of skills that are necessary for you to have a better, let's say, a better enjoyment of life wherever you go. Okay, so remember, this is your space. Questions that are related to stuff like whatever you want to. Again, not that we know everything about this. We're not MacGyvers. We are people that want to simply think with you. Okay, so because two heads think way better than one. All right, wrapping up for tonight. It has been a pleasure for me to always having this space in which words manage to get beyond what we understand. I'm so proud from some of the people that I am seeing tonight in this room. The fact that you guys managed to make it all the way far enough to manage to follow a conversation as the type of rambling conversation that I'm having is great. So good. I have some students that began from zero here and now are way better than what I expected them to be in the shortest time possible. I'm really glad. And for that reason, my sincere thanks for the patience that you have with me, with us in A-létheia, and also the support that you have for following the method that we once gave you for improving in the levels that you did uh, working with us. So thank you, people. Thank you. So remember, people, and not this week, but in 2 weeks, and precisely that will be. Let me check. That will be on the 25th, November 25th. Okay, Friday, November 25th. So thank you, guys. Be seeing you, and good luck. The best for this weekend. Have a great one. We end here. Bye bye, Pedro.